You're at your old trusty boat. You call mighty Sparrow. I'm in the city of Mardi Gras.
Welcome to the Sailing into Oblivion podcast. I'm your host, Jerome Rand, and this is where we sit down with everyday people who do extraordinary things. Good evening and Happy New Year to everybody. Holy cow, 2022 is hours away from being over, and 2023 is at our doorstep. Pretty crazy. What a year. I can't even... it's been nuts, especially thinking about, everything that's happened in the last month or two sailing wise. It's been pretty crazy. And I guess the sail up to Maine last May. But in any event, it's crazy to think too that I ended up 2021 pulling in here the day before New Year's last year. Pretty crazy. So I have a huge treat for all of my wonderful listeners and anybody who might pick this up new because of the guest that I have on the show. If you've ever looked up sailing on YouTube, you've definitely seen this person's face and probably joined in on some of his adventures crossing oceans alone. And that would be the YouTube sensation of Sam Holmes. I reached out to him. And unbeknownst to him, he didn't know who I was or the sailing stuff that I do, but very graciously, he was on his way from North Carolina to Florida and said he would be happy to come on the podcast. And tell you what, just a genuinely great guy, awesome sailor, makes these incredible videos that are definitely fully entertaining. I mean, when I watch one, I turn it on, I watch the whole thing pretty much every time. They're fun, and you can see that he's got a true passion and gets a lot of joy out of sailing. So really cool. And we basically just sit down, two solo sailors, chatting about everything from Hobiecats to ocean sailing to storms to YouTube. We're sort of all over the place. I wish I could have sat down with him for 3 hours, and I think we probably are going to meet up again at some point and collaborate and have another long form podcast where we're not sort of crunched for time. But big thanks to Sam for just emailing me back. And I kind of feel like now I've got a, kind of a new friend, new colleague, I guess. Who knows? But in any event, really excited. Before we start the show, as always, I have to say, if you want to support this program, you can head over to Patreon, follow the link, and become one of the Patreon family for Sailing into Oblivion. Thank you all for the 40 strong that we have that are right now part of that family. You are supporting it, and I got my eyes on some 2 brand new microphones and a new recording device. So hopefully we are going to be up in the ante in 2023. I can't press the click button to order them just yet, but we're getting there. And a big part of that is all your support. Also, there's another line. I got 3 different shirts out there now trying to sort of fill up the shelf, the merch shelf, if you will. So you can check those out. I think the link will be in the description for that. And then if you just want to reach out to the show, you got an idea, you want to hear about something, sailingintooblivion.com, the podcast button, follow that to contact the show, and those emails go directly to me. So thank you all so very much. Hopefully we have a fantastic and safe New Year's night. And kick off January 1st with a bang. And hope 2023 is an awesome year. And so here we go. Without further ado, Sam Holmes. Oh, and I might as well plug Sam's channel while I'm at it, because if you have not been on YouTube and seen his stuff, it's really entertaining, and it's real deal. I mean, he's just out there on the ocean with a camera by himself, sailing across some oceans and doing some other adventures. And that's Sam Holmes Sailing on YouTube. So check that out. I'll put a link in the description as well. Here we go. Perfect.
On the boat.
Awesome. Sam, I'm overjoyed that you were able to make this pit stop.
Heck yeah, I'm glad I came. I didn't know about your circumnavigation and stuff, so it's cool to
see
what you're doing.
I didn't. That was kind of an interesting thing. Like, I didn't really tell anybody I was doing it besides like my family and a few friends.
Yeah.
And this was,
I think that's a wise way to go. Like you kind of got to keep
you can't
that.
disappoint anybody.
Right. And everybody tells you you're crazy until you actually do it. Then they're like, you're amazing. But before it's like, you don't want people to know maybe.
Well, I had a few friends that after I got back, they came up to me and they're like, hey, I got to tell you, I sort of wrote you off.
Yeah, really?
I thought you were definitely going to die out there.
Wow.
And I'm like, whoa, hey, geez. And you didn't tell me until now?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know. I mean, this is really cool because I think you're pretty much the first ocean crossing solo sailor that I've ever had on the show. I mean, almost everybody that is on this, it's their first time ever doing a podcast. I love chatting with all the people in the marina and stuff. And, they're on their first or second year with the boat and everything. And it's always interesting to hear the stories about, why they decided to just shuck normal life and hop on a boat and everything.
Sure. Yeah.
But to sit down and not do,
I still think I'm only on like my second year with this boat. I just decided to go ahead and go across the ocean right away.
Yeah. Well, the trip to Hawaii, was that your first big crossing?
That was my first big one. Yeah.
Okay. And that was 3 years ago?
Yeah, that was about 3 years. Yeah, 3 years ago, I think. Yeah.
I watched just a little. I was trying. I mean, you have so many videos. It's
yeah, I keep pumping them out. I try to do 2 a week now.
I know, dude. That's what I try and do. Like with the podcast, I don't sail enough to.
The faster you get them out, the less editing you have to do because they're shorter. I think.
Well, and I tell you, man, it's so nice to see just raw footage, not crazy special editing. Like you're like proof that a guy with a camera or a sailor with a camera can just go out and do these sort of trips and film them, throw them all together, put them out there, and people like it. Like,
I just do I film it all on my iPhone and I edit it on the iPhone and I post it from the phone. Yeah, just trying to make it really easy for myself.
Well,
and if you look at everyone else's, all the other stuff, like you would think you have to have a lot of production value, but you don't really. Like people seem to love just the real kind of. Just get out and film what you're doing, and it's like interesting to people. Yeah.
Well, and it does seem like I've been getting a lot of comments on some of the stuff I'm doing where people are like, I'm really kind of enjoying this real sailing content as opposed to some of the clickbait stuff of,
Sure.
the sailing genre that's sort of flooded right now, I guess.
Yeah, I think sometimes like you and me, like we stare at the ocean all the time, like, and it seems maybe not so interesting. So I'm trying to like do more, because people really like just to like have the videos on in the background, I guess they say, and just like seeing the ocean, the sailing, like that. I was kind of cutting that a little shorter, but maybe I'm trying to stretch it out a little longer, just to kind of like just do like some long shot every now and then, showing like just the boat sailing, really.
Right. No, well, and I think that's one of the things I just enjoy doing. When I'm out there, after I get into sort of the low level input mode after a week or two, I can sit there and just watch that ocean for hours. Like not a thought even going through my head.
That's good for you.
I love it.
It sounds like you've had some long passages.
Yeah, I've done a few doozies, but it's there's something about being out there that I don't know if it's not that I don't like civilized life here on land by any means, but I definitely crave just being out on that ocean and looking at a chart, and I'm in the middle of it, and you're sort of like, I'm in my ocean now. I don't know. That's
a cool feeling.
It's a real cool feeling, and you wouldn't even know it because the scene doesn't change really outside. And you're watching that chart and you're just looking at it and you're just
a little speck out there.
Boom, 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 boom. It's so nice. Do you use paper charts when you're out there?
No, not really. Sometimes I have like a big one just kind of for fun, just to kind of
like the passage making chart.
Yeah. But I didn't really use that. I got lazy and stopped marking that on the Atlantic crossing. I did it when I crossed to Hawaii. It was kind of fun. But sometimes I'm very lazy. I just use my phone. And, that's where I am.
Well, hey, that's Bernard Moitessier. He used to always say, he's like, if people knew how much like I sleep when I'm out at sea,
I sleep so much.
They would be like, oh, what? This guy isn't doing anything. Well, before we get into more of the like sort of ocean stuff, I guess, the Hobie 16.
Oh, yeah.
I learned how to sail on one of those when I was like 18 years old.
Oh, really? Yeah. Where at?
Up in northern Michigan, just on the little inland lakes.
Cool.
Like, this belt buckle was
You got the Hobie belt
it
buckle.
was
Heck
given
yeah.
to me by one of my staff. I used to run like sailing schools and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And my buddy Charlie, he sandcasted 2 of them because I taught him how to sail again on a Hobie 16.
Oh, he
and-
casted them.
Oh yeah, yeah. He
Cool.
made did some sort of sand casting.
Yeah.
But I remember when I worked at the Bitter End down
Uh-huh.
in the British Virgin Islands, we do a Hobie family like fun week,
Mm.
and so the president of Hobie Cat comes down, and he's
Oh.
like, "Where'd you get that belt buckle?"
Oh,
I'm like, "Oh, it's custom,
Custom made.
custom made, buddy." But that trip, going over to the Bahamas,
Yeah.
that looked crazy.
That was a little scary
Yeah.
towards the end, I think. Yeah.
Well,
It was try number 3. We finally made it.
I know. I mean,
I set out like requirement that I wasn't gonna do it because the boat was so sketchy.
yeah, it looked
It
like
was
it,
piece of
man.
crap.
How old is that one?
Oh, it's from the 70s, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was the
geez.
decks were like super squishy. It was
Oh,
just
you
it was
took
the
it to
worst
the
example of a
Bahamas.
Hobie Cat. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Oh my gosh. So there were 3 temps.
Yeah, because I
Just-
want because I wanted to go that time of year. I thought was good because it's usually windier, but you're not really getting the squalls that kind of surprise you.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I was just waiting for the wind to kind of be going with the Gulf Stream or not against the Gulf Stream, you know.
Right, right.
And then I kind of set it up so I kind of went a longer route. It was 80 miles my track. I mean, it's only 20 miles across. But I knew like the Gulf Stream was going to kind of drift me
Yeah,
so
yeah.
much, or like I lost the wind or
Well,
something.
you
I
had,
didn't want to just
you
end
had
up
to do
out.
some navigation to hit that
Yeah,
island.
but the
dead
plan
on.
worked out really good, and like the first 2 times it was just way choppy, too much leftover chop I think from the day before, and it just goes to the trampoline and it was
Well, they're really wet boats.
Yeah.
I mean, how long did it take? 9 hours?
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that's a long time to be like.
And we ended up doing. I think it worked pretty good because we left in the middle of the night, and the only reason we left, I think we probably would have just given up because we were camping on this little island in Miami, and like we were just getting eaten alive by bugs. So I was like, well, let's just go throw our
Just
stuff
get
on the
the heck
boat,
out
and
of
we were
here.
just like so miserable, and we just pushed it off, and I was like, there was no wind, so we just drifted out
Yeah.
there because I didn't even bother putting the anchor out, and then I woke up a couple hours later. Hey, look, we're kind of drifting out there. It's like a little bit of wind, so let's put the sail up and we'll give it. It's actually like the water was super flat. So
Yeah.
we'll give it. We'll make this try number 3. Maybe we'll make
Maybe
it
we'll actually
this
go.
time.
And then you
And
just
it
kept
did, yeah.
going.
It worked great. Yeah.
Well, when you noticed that the hull was getting a little lower in the water, that's when I was like, "Oh, geez!" Like,
Yeah.
I've been on a Hobie where I forgot to put the plugs in
Uh-huh.
and basically had to get towed back
Yeah.
in because I was losing it. But
That's how I lost my first Hobie 14 in California.
oh, really?
Yeah, we flipped it too much, and then one of them was full of water, and we couldn't get it back up. And then the Baywatch boat came out, and like
Oh, no way.
the yellow one, and they were like trying to. They took forever to like get it back up because it was like so heavy.
Yeah.
Eventually, they actually got it, righted it.
Well, because they
Uh,
like to just come over and then flip right back
Yeah, that's
over
what it
once
was,
they're
just
waterlogged. Yeah.
going over and over and over. But then by the time they finally got it up, it had damaged so much stuff on it that it was like just a
Oh,
loss.
I'm
yeah.
sure. We had one at one of the places I worked at. The mast, if it turtled, it would
Uh-huh.
just start filling
Fills
the
with water.
mast with
Yeah.
water. And I remember we
It's so
tried to
heavy.
right that thing once, and it was just so bent. There was so much pressure on it. Oh my
Oh,
god!
man.
I think
Yeah.
we ended up filling it with foam, but it just didn't make sense because I'd never seen a Hobie
Mhm.
mast do that before.
Oh, okay.
I think they all have some sort of foam in them.
Oh, do they?
I
Okay.
think maybe just foam stoppers, like
Because I thought that was part of the thing. I thought our mast filled with water too. Because it was easy to flip the first few times, and then
and then
like
it got harder and harder.
yeah. And my friend said, "Oh, look." Afterwards, he's like, "Oh, we forgot to put the plugs in. That must have caused it." And my theory was that the mast had filled, but I don't know which
Yeah,
one it
you
was.
never
It
really
was,
know those,
because we
right?
got it up the first few times, and then like the third time, it was just impossible. Like,
Right. Well, and we had to get rid of a couple of old ones. I don't know if they were Hobie 14s or not,
Mhm.
but we had to cut them up. And the hulls had foam in them.
Oh, do they? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if that's standard or if somebody had done that on their
Yeah.
own. You never know.
Huh.
Custom mod, I guess. But
I think that would add a lot of weight to.
you would think, yeah,
Yeah,
I
to
mean,
have them all, like-
at least 20 pounds or something like that.
Yeah.
And those are light boats. They only weigh
Mhm.
like 300 something, I think.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Well, anyway, I mean that's so cool because I've always had this sort of little dream of taking our Hobie 16,
Uh-huh.
trailering it over to Wisconsin,
Mm.
and sailing it back to Michigan, and it's about 90 miles, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good trip.
it's it's one of those where maybe if the YouTube channel grows enough,
Uh-huh.
then I might turn it into a big video adventure or something.
Yeah, I love the small boat
They're
adventures,
so
just like
cool,
camping on
right?
it. Yeah, it's like different challenges. It's like I like it.
Well,
I want to do that in the Mediterranean. Actually, that was last year.
ooh, yeah,
I
yeah,
flew to Croatia, and I was like, I'll find a Hobie Cat or like a dinghy, and I
yeah.
had like my backpacking stuff. I was like, I'll get one cheap and just sail it from Croatia down to Greece. That was
Oh,
my plan.
nice.
But I just couldn't find a boat that was like gonna work out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was using their kind of version of Craigslist and the Facebook Market, and I had one that was kind of like almost worked out a deal, and then the guy got kind of weird and it fell through, and
Oh,
I got kind of frustrated. But it's still in the back of my mind now.
that would be pretty cool, man. Oh, that'd be that's so out of the ordinary. I mean, you think about doing that in the Caribbean
Uh-huh.
or something like that, where you could start in Grenada and make your way all the way up to like the USVI. I
Yeah.
knew a guy who I believe he started in either Venezuela
Uh-huh.
or in Grenada, and he windsurfed all the way back up to
Oh,
I think the USVI. Long time ago, back
that
in the
sounds like a cool
80s.
adventure. Yeah.
Yeah. He was somebody. I think he worked at the bitter end. So.
I met someone who had windsurfed did the same trip I did in a windsurfer, like before I did it.
Which trip? Oh, across.
Yeah, like off
Yeah.
Gulf Stream.
That would
So,
be insane. I couldn't even imagine. I mean, they used to race, and I never did it, but from Virgin Gorda to Anegada, it's like 14 miles on a windsurfer,
Mhm.
and even when you're just hauling,
yeah.
it's 2 hours or whatever, or an hour. You're
Yeah.
so exhausted because you're on just one tack,
Uh-huh.
and so everything just gets
Oh yeah.
kind of crampy and all. So, oh my gosh, I couldn't even imagine it. But you're going down to learn how to windsurf and kite
Yeah,
surf,
well,
right?
I'm like just the point where I'm kind of starting to get up on plane a little bit.
Yeah.
I did it a bunch, like a little bit in California, years ago, and then like a neighbor like sold us a ton of. I've got like 10 sails or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got the whole quiver now, so
Oh,
it's like really great.
nice.
And it's like, this is a good time for me to just like buckle down and like try to get like,
Yeah,
master it,
yeah,
kind of,
Well, and the learning curve is really, I don't know if this is the best way to describe it. It's really steep until you start to plane.
Yeah.
And then once you get to that point, it's literally all of a sudden you're like, I am flying around on this thing.
I feel like I'm just like getting to the point where like if I can cross that
yeah.
threshold, and just get the hang of everything, it'll
And then you go from
be a
planing
lot more fun
to like locking your legs and having to hold onto the boom by one hand. Like it's ridiculous. It's I've done windsurfing and kite surfing, all that stuff, and windsurfing has this controlled speed, this element of like I can just rocket ship this thing. Kite surfing, I always feel like I'm gonna get ripped off the earth.
Okay.
And I have plenty of times, but windsurfing just I don't know. For me, it was just so. We used to go out at night.
Yeah.
Down there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's so much fun. Ugh. It gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. Oh man, that's so cool. So have you ever been able to answer the question of why on earth you would go out and sail across an ocean, being dangerous, costing money, by yourself? I get asked that question all the time, and
Yeah.
I've never really come up with a really great answer. I guess I have.
There's not just like one reason. There's a lot of good reasons.
It takes
Like,
yeah. I mean,
I felt like it was something I kind of had to do because I was like, I'm every next step I would have would be like, I'm like more of a sailor now, or you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I couldn't really call myself a sailor unless I crossed an ocean. I felt like, and then that was like one of the reasons. And then it's just like a cool way to travel, like to see a new place.
It definitely is, yeah.
I like to do it alone because I don't like to rely on anyone else that's gonna back out, or have to like make decisions with another person. It's nice to just feel like, okay, I want to change my mind and sail, 5 days this way, or completely change my destination. Like I do that all the time. Like,
yeah,
I think I'm gonna go here, and then like, it's gonna be too hard. Let me go here. But if you got someone else, they probably have plans or something, to get there, and it's like, you got to go back and forth. And
well, we used to do a lot of deliveries, and those are like point A to point B as fast as you can. Like boat slows down a little bit, turn the engine on, all that. And yeah, I mean, when you're out there solo, it's totally up to you.
Yeah,
you're just
that's a real
I'm just
freedom.
Gonna drift, maybe take a swim. I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes I just leave the sails down because I don't want to get out of bed. And
yeah. I've done that. Like,
we'll give a few more hours, and
think
then
the
I'll
wind's
go.
coming. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, in the doldrums.
Hmm.
There's so many times, you're just becalmed, and then you'll ride a squall, and then you're becalmed, and yeah, I used to have a little wind chime that I held up there, and it would sort of wake me up if a little breeze was kicking
Oh,
up
that's
and
smart.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
I
helped.
feel like there's so many times where like, oh, it hasn't started yet, and I get out there and we've got like 8 knots of good wind, and I haven't even
And you don't even
haven't
know,
sailed
because
because
if
I'm like,
you
I
don't
feel
have
like
the
I know.
waves, right?
Yeah, if it's really flat, sometimes I don't. Like, oh, I could have got a couple hours of sailing in.
Right,
before
right.
that.
But
I like the wind chime idea.
well, you can't always rely. I ended up losing that. This was on the trip around the world coming back north.
Mhm.
So been out maybe 230 days, and used my wind chime.
Mhm.
Thought it was all good. I went to sleep with like full, huge drifter, full mainsail,
Oh,
and I'd done that plenty of times. But it was kind of an overcast night, and I woke up to the boat just lurching over, and then the
Wow.
sound of the sail just shredding up
Oh
there.
no.
Oh man, lost the wind chime, everything, and I ended up delaminating the bowsprit because it's 3 pieces of wood put together.
Okay.
Because there's just so much torque.
And
Luckily,
delam-
only for a
pull them
second.
apart. Wow.
Yeah, and that gives credence. I've always believed like the big head sails.
Mhm.
I always buy used ones.
Mhm.
I think that gives them a little give. Like they're gonna blow out before they do any real damage.
Oh, you think? Okay.
Maybe, I don't
Maybe.
know. That's
Okay.
my excuse at least.
And that was on your big trip.
Yeah.
Oh.
And that
And what point in the trip was that?
that was just past the equator, headed north back to Gloucester.
Oh, okay.
So I left Gloucester in October of
Mhm.
2017 and got back June of 2018.
Okay. So that was towards the end.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
That
so
was
it
in like
wasn't
the
like gonna
last month.
put it in jeopardy or anything.
No,
would
not
that
really.
affect you if it had happened earlier in the trip, or would you have been able to
No,
sort it out?
I don't think so. I mean, the bowsprit wasn't damaged at all.
Yeah.
It was just kind of, you could see that it had been basically
Tweaked it a bit.
torqued a little, but because
Yeah.
it's wood, it didn't bend. It just went right back.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it was one of those things. I was feeling like such an idiot. I'm just like, man, I've been smelling squalls in my sleep.
Mm.
You know, how you wake up and you're like, I don't know why, but I want to check. And you go
Mhm.
up top and there's one coming.
Yeah.
And you're just like, yes, I'm a true seaman now. But you're not going to catch every one of them, that's for sure.
Sure, yeah.
But oh man, gosh, it's so cool. I just have all these questions, but I also don't want to just grill you.
Oh, go ahead.
All right. So how many crossings have you done now? Which oceans?
Well, I did the one the Hawaii, and
Yeah.
then across the Atlantic. I did Bermuda, and then Azores, and then Ireland.
And you got into some ugly weather from the Azores, Ireland? Or was it-
Yeah. So, Azores to Ireland. It was all behind me. It was when like the Fastnet, or is that the one that? Yeah,
Goes out to
Fastnet race.
Fastnet
Yeah, because
Rock,
I
yeah.
caught them at the end. There was 2 people beating against it, and I was like, who in their right mind would go upwind
Oh,
in
really?
this kind of weather? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about. It never got really bad, but I was like thinking about diverting, like maybe to France, or like changing the
Yeah.
where I was
Just
gonna
to
end
try
up
and
to
stay
try
under
to like
it, right?
to avoid it. I don't remember, but then it eventually I ended up kind of avoiding the bad part of it, so that was fine. And then the other bad, I sailed from like Key West to North Carolina. That was like a pretty long trip. I didn't stop, and I got in the Gulf Stream, and the wind turned
Oh,
against
yeah,
me.
yeah.
That was a little bit dicey for a bit, but yeah,
That-
those are the longest ones I've done nonstop, I guess.
North Atlantic's pretty scary though. You've sailed around. Did you went to Ireland?
Yeah, so I went to Ireland, and then I went over like the north part of Ireland, and then across to Scotland.
Uh-huh. That's
And
like
then
scary
up
waters.
Yeah, I was getting into like October when I got to
Yeah.
Shetland, and I thought I might be stuck on Shetland for the winter. Like I got in there, and the guy was like, "You're gonna be there here all winter," you know.
Gosh. Yeah.
Like the next day, there was like a gale coming through, and like we tied my boat up super good. And it
Were
was
you at
like,
a marina?
I was like, yeah. I went into. I guess it wasn't the guest marina; they'd already taken it out of the water, so I just put into another marina, and it was super cool. Like this just random guy, like, "Oh, you can stay here," and they helped me tie the boat up, and yeah. So I was thinking that he was thinking I was gonna be stuck there, because like I think it gets to a certain point where it's just like
Yeah,
the weather just you don't really
it
don't want.
closes in. I mean,
Yeah.
I left on this last trip November 14th.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, I try and leave right at the tail end of October.
Mm-hmm.
And when Nicole came about, that was when I sort of was like, I don't want to head out and just get smashed by a named storm
Mm-mm.
like last time. So I'm just going to pause. I'll wait for my window. But man, like as soon as I left, that window closed right
Oh.
on top of me, and it just
Yikes.
kept. It was like system after system after system. And yeah, I mean, you were up there. What was your plan? Like, how are you going to get out of there that late in the season?
Oh yeah, I wanted to sail. I was gonna go to like Amsterdam or Sweden because I think they're pretty cheap to store the boat there for the winter. That was kind of the plan, just to store it there for the winter.
Gotcha.
And then I made it. It ended up being really easy crossing the North Sea. Like I had this, like I got Holmes.
Like perfect window.
Yeah. So it was pretty easy sailing across there, and then sailing down. I sailed from Shetland to Bergen, and then sailing down the coast of Norway a few times. Because I was like, well, I got to go out into a little bit of weather in the North Sea and see what.
See what
like. I felt like I was just like it was too easy crossing there, and so because I could have stayed inside a lot of the ways. Every once in a while, you kind of have to go outside.
Do they have a term for doing something like that? Grabbing the tiger by the tail or something.
Something like that, I guess. Yeah, I got my butt kicked, and then
Oh,
like
man.
I'm not doing that
Yeah,
anymore.
right. Oh my gosh. Well, it's such a treacherous area. I mean,
Yeah, and then I've heard like going around Lindeness at the bottom, like the southern part of Norway is bad. But again, I got lucky, or I got my butt kicked, so I waited for good weather.
yeah.
And then I ended up keeping the boat in Sweden that year.
Okay.
That was.
And then do you
last year.
just go explore the countries and stuff, or do you head back to the States?
So that was in Sweden, and I was like, it's getting dark and cold, and then that's when I booked a flight. I got like a $20 flight from Gothenburg to Croatia, and that's why I was trying to find the dinghy to go someplace warmer. And I thought that might be cool, but then it didn't really work out, so I just kind of explored. Like I went to Greece and Austria for a little bit, and and then Italy, and then I flew back.
And you're filming all that stuff, right?
Yeah, I made a little. I didn't do a lot of filming for that kind of stuff because I kind of have like a formula for making the sailing videos where it's just really easy. I don't have to think about it so much.
Yeah.
When I try to film other stuff, it takes more brain power, and I gotta like figure out. Like when I end up with more footage, and then I'm like, well, how do I make this into like a video that kind of makes sense,
like a fun story?
Yeah, so sometimes it ends up just being kind of like a montage video or something.
Well, I watched the one where you and I think it was just in Fayal or something like that, and that was cool, man. It was like there's like Sam Holmes Sailing, and then there's Sam Holmes Travel Channel.
Oh yeah. I do like to do like walk around the place and yeah. I mean, because I don't get the point where if people sometimes they sail across, like I think that like the trans pack, sometimes they like sail across there and they just shift the boat back and fly back the next weekend or something.
Right.
Like I spent 3 or 4 months in Hawaii when I went there. Yeah.
Oh man, I've never been. One of these days, I've only done the very deep South Pacific.
That's what I want to do next. The
islands.
I'm
just talking about Southern
you
Ocean.
Went really far. Yeah. Okay. You done that.
I was at like 47 degrees south, I think, for most of it. But yeah, the South Pacific. Could you imagine? Where would you go from? I guess go from Panama
to like the Galapagos, I guess, and then Marquesas, and then just
like into the splay of
all
islands.
The options you got. Because when I was in Hawaii, I wanted to keep going, but that little Ranger, the Ranger 23, it just was fine for sailing, but like I knew when I got there, I was gonna end up staying, for like a few months or whatever, and it was just so small to live on that little boat.
So tiny, yeah.
It was actually kind of nice at sea because everything is like super close, like. I could be in bed and reach up and trim the main sheet, and like it's kind of
there is
comforting.
A convenience. I mean, and
I got to the point where I was used to just getting tossed around like a rag doll out there. Like I just got used to that, so that wasn't quite a problem anymore. Because sailing in between the Hawaii islands was like really
tough, isn't it?
I thought it was gonna be like my reward was just being tropical paradise cruising around. It'll be easy once I get there. If I can get there, like that's the hard part.
Yeah.
But then like I get there and like, oh, you're gonna cross the Ali Nui Haha, and like
that's
that
really
thing.
dangerous
And
one,
I was like, yeah, I just sailed it across the Pacific. Like I think I can do it. And they're like, you would talk to people first. I would talk to people. Are you serious? But yeah, I had like a real bad reputation. I turned around like 3 or 4 times, like going out, I was like,
really?
Nope,
I'll try
I
to
hid behind like the wind shot shadow of the island, and then I was
Yeah.
like, I'll try again, and did it a few times, tacked back and forth until I thought it was
good to
comfortable
go.
enough to
Yeah.
go across there.
Was it just one of those
You got
Venturi
two of the
effect?
biggest volcanoes in the
Yeah,
world,
it
and like the
squeezes
whole
in.
trade wind's just kind of like funneling it.
Right.
And then so there's a huge like fetch, too. Like so you could have a pretty big swell.
Yeah.
And,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Hawaii's known for having big waves. At
Well,
certain
all
times of
those
year,
storms up in the North Pacific, I
Oh.
anytime I always love looking at like Windy
Right?
and just scanning the whole world. And like right now, since I've been back, the North Pacific and the North Atlantic are literally it's like they're on fire.
Oh
with
yeah.
storms. Yeah, the Southern
lot
Ocean's
going on.
been pretty decently calm because I've been sort of following the Golden Globe race, and it's
Is that going on now?
yeah.
Where are they?
Well, there three or four of them have just passed the Tasmania Gate, and then there's only like 5 or 6 of them left out of, I don't know, 18 or 15 that
whittling
started.
down already.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, and there's only one American left, Elliot Lee, and he's a young guy. He's in his 20s. But he damaged his bowsprit. I think he had to pick up a mooring in South Africa to try and fix it. But he is literally in the middle of the Indian Ocean, and his boat's a little damaged, and he knows he's out of the race.
Okay.
So he's got to get to Fremantle. There's, I believe, a cyclone, or the remnants of it, a few hundred miles north of him. He's going to get hit by that. It's like when I think about where I was, a month ago out in the Atlantic, the Indian Ocean's the scariest ocean I've ever been on. Like,
Yeah.
it will, all the old time sailors talk about how violent it gets. And it does. I mean, I got clipped by Cyclone Irving when I was there, and I got my first knockdown, but it's just like unpredictable.
Is it? Okay.
Well, and it's really close to Antarctica, like when you're doing that route. So let's say you're in the 40 to 45 south range. You're cruising, heading towards Australia, and Antarctica's not that far south of you. So those storms sort of seem to go further north in the Indian, and you get into the Pacific, and it's like it recedes way down, so you can sort of go down as well. I don't know. But I'm feeling for that guy. I'm gonna do a live stream, I think, later tonight to do like an update. I've been trying to do those, as this whole race, because I can sort of give a bit of
kind of
perspective.
like give you that'd be super valuable. I like
it's well, and it's
have
fun,
someone talk about it and just it'd be cool.
Right. But I feel for him. I mean, that is literally the last place I would want to be. I couldn't even imagine. Well, I can't imagine, I guess, but like I wouldn't want to imagine being in his shoes right now. So
would you ever have any desire to do it like in the race? Like
well, people ask that a lot. Because this boat wouldn't be able to win unless it was a last man standing kind of season, and I don't want to go to the Southern Ocean if it's one of those seasons. They say you get one good year in 3, and when it's a bad year, I mean, like the first one they did in 2018, like the storms in the Indian Ocean just ripped people. I mean,
people were getting dismasted. Left and right. It seemed like.
This year so far it hasn't been too bad, but. I don't know. It's one of those things. I don't like all the rules. If it was way more casual, like the very first
that's
one.
a big turn off for me, all the rules for everything. Like everyone's I was trying to and smaller scale, like the Everglades challenge, and as they have in Florida, it's like kind of similar to the Hobie. I sailed down through the Everglades. I was trying to go to the Keys, so I didn't. I didn't make it all the way.
Was that on Hobiecat?
It was on. It's called a Mystere 5.5. It's like a Hobie 18 kind of. Similar size.
Okay, yeah.
Because it has it's a lot
dagger
more
boards.
freeboard and dagger boards. And
okay.
The sail on the thing is super racy. It's like
I think I caught a clip of that. Yeah, like it's like a Kevlar.
Yeah, and I'm not confident enough on that boat. Like, there's no way to like depower it.
Oh, really?
It's just like you get a little breath of wind, and it just like shoots off, and like the hull just wants to come up so quick. And like I think with 2 people, I'm getting pretty comfortable on.
They have trapeze wires.
Yeah. It's got the 2 trapezes, nice. And so much fun.
Dude,
I tried to sail it from Fort Myers to the Keys, down to the Keys, but I made it like. into the Everglades, and then I was like looking at the weather. I was like, I don't want to, because I'm not like gonna sail it out in a ton of wind.
Yeah.
Yet, especially not going. Like,
Can you reef
offshore.
the main at all?
No, I don't have any way to reef the main.
Yikes.
So I need if I'm gonna do something like that, I need to set up have a different sail, a
Yeah,
smaller
like a
sail or a way to
storm
reef
main
it
or something.
Yeah.
Right.
I ended up at one point, like, I was going downwind and I just had a tiny little jib, and I like was so overpowered, like I couldn't jibe her. I was too afraid to jibe, so I just put the main down, and I was like doing like 8 or 9 knots, just like a little jib, just surfing down the waves. I was like a chicken, but
there's definitely a point, I think, on those boats where when the wind gets up high enough, you could be bare poles and it'll still tip
because the mast
over.
is huge, right?
Yeah, totally.
Probably pretty good windage on.
And there's no weight behind the boat.
No, it's so light.
You're sitting
I think
there
the thing weighs the same as like a Hobie. It's also like 300, 350 pounds or something. It's so light.
They're crazy light. Oh man, is it easy to?
But that one I had set up better because I put some hatches in the holes, holes, so I could put some of the stuff.
Oh, down below.
Camping stuff down below.
Yeah, because you guys had literally
so much stuff.
A pile.
It was so like. Because like I like having all this stuff when because I was planning to get to the Bahamas and then cruise around for a few weeks, and I want to have a tent and like mosquito nets and food and water and everything. But then to do the crossing, it's like you really don't want to have all that stuff out there on the deck. If we ever flipped that thing, oh my gosh, it would probably lose all that stuff.
I couldn't even imagine. Yeah,
I don't know, like
it'd probably turtle a lot faster.
It wasn't good.
But it did that boat have a little float on top? It did, didn't it?
Yeah, I put a float on top of the Hobie.
Nice.
I thought that would, after my previous experiences with the turtle and the 14 we had, I was like, well, I don't want the mast to go under.
Definitely not in the middle of the Gulf Stream with a squall coming or a big ship or something. Did you have like a paddle on there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because we didn't have a jib on our Hobie, so we had to use the paddle to tack.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's right. You got to backwind the jibs of those. I almost forgot that.
Yeah, super hard to tack without the jib.
Oh, 100%, especially loaded up like that. How you guys didn't hit anything? That rudder just snapped?
Well, I think so. We had like a bunch of gear kind of. We had like a little like cargo net we kind of rigged up on the front of the boat, and it kind of collapsed part of it and was hanging underneath. So it might have someone might have fallen out of that and like hit the rudder, but I think it just broke. Like
just snapped.
Yeah, it probably was just old plastic. Like they're just polycarbonate, I think. I thought they were like.
I thought they were fiberglass.
I thought they were too, which I thought, but then I looked inside it. It was just plastic.
Just plastic.
Yeah.
Huh.
The one of my newer boat has fiberglass.
Yeah.
Ones. I think they're probably stronger. But I cut out like a piece of wood in the shape of a rudder just to have on my last trip because I lost the rudder on the Hobie 14 too, and that. So I was thinking, oh well. If I've lost 2 rudders, maybe I'll bring a spare.
Yeah, right. Well, that when I was watching that video, I was like, boy, I hope he doesn't lose that other rudder.
Oh, no.
I mean,
that was kind of why we kind of gave up once we got there, because like, it just you couldn't really go upwind at all with the one rudder and not having a jib and just being such a crappy boat.
Yeah,
we weren't getting anywhere.
You know,
it just turned to be so miserable once we got there.
Oh my god, that's so funny. So what kind of boat? So you had the 23. What type of boat was it?
The Ranger 23.
Ranger 23.
Yeah.
And then you went to, there was like a blue hulled boat, right?
The boat called Pickled Herring.
Pickled Herring
in Amsterdam now has a blue hull now. It used to be white. I painted it blue.
And what type of boat is that?
That's a Cape Dory 28.
It's a Cape Dory 28. Oh, okay. Can I ask you something? The one thing I couldn't figure out, you have 2 mirrors hanging underneath your solar panels.
That's when I'm laying down in the cockpit and I can see what's in front of me, so I don't have to like stick my head up. Or also when you're standing down here, you can see what's in front of you.
Ah, okay, gotcha. I'll bet, man.
And I also I have I've got like a car backup camera and I put it up on top of the mast and I have that down here.
Oh no way!
And that's so nice. Like the angle's a little wide, so if like you can see a ship on it, it's probably really really close to you because it makes everything look far away. But that's really nice. Like I mean, if you're in like a crowded shipping place or a ship going by and you want to go to the bathroom or something, like just to kind of be down and keep an eye on it, or just when you're lounging down here, it's like every once in a while you still kind of want to maybe look around, but like
for sure.
Oh, and also it kind of points down enough that I can see the spinnaker
Oh,
when I'm
nice.
down here, because sometimes it gets wrapped up for something
Yeah,
weird
yeah,
and you
yeah.
don't really notice it.
Ah.
So
Yeah,
that's turned out to
I
be pretty
think
useful.
people would be pretty surprised how little I look forward,
Mm.
like when I'm on the boat sailing. Like, I think a
What
lot of
percent of
people.
the time are you below versus in the cockpit on a
It depends
passage?
on where I am. When I was in the Southern Ocean, probably 90% of the time I was down below,
Yeah,
reading books and just sort of, because there
just not being
it's
out there.
cloudy and
Yeah,
it's rough
depressed,
and
yeah.
wet and salty, and I don't know. Even down here, it wasn't all that pleasant. I can assure you that, because I don't have a heater on the boat, so all my breath was condensating on everything and dripping, and this boat was like a petri dish of mold.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, it was really gruesome. But I keep thinking of all these things as we're talking. When you were sailing over there by Ireland, Scotland, Europe and everything, the traffic must have been insane.
Oh yeah, going into Amsterdam was the worst ever. It was just
That's like the
ships
biggest
everywhere.
port in the world, isn't it?
Yeah, and I was like
Rotterdam?
way out there. There's an anchorage just like out in the middle there too. It was horrible. Like, because like the anchor boat's not gonna move out of the way.
No, they're definitely not. How many boats were anchored
Oh,
out there?
so
You think, like
exhausted. Just
30 or
endless as
something?
far as I could
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
It was horrible. And then the ones going back and forth and wind farms out there.
Oh my gosh.
It's just a mess. Yeah, it's bad for being a single-handed.
Dude,
You don't get any sleep at
you
all.
don't get any sleep. And I mean, when I do my trip, usually from like down here up to Maine or Maine down here, that sort of thing, just with the seasons, the hardest part is always the day or two it takes to get past Charleston and Savannah and all that, trying to get in here.
Yeah.
So I always tend to go offshore. But on this last trip, when I lost everything, I also lost my AIS aerial for GPS. So I no longer had AIS out there.
Oh,
and
okay.
that was the first time I had not had AIS solo sailing. And it was really a shocking difference. Like,
yeah,
how your mind starts playing tricks on you. You think you're hearing the murmur of an engine. You can't sleep really well at all, no matter how tired you are.
Yeah, you get used to that AIS, like having that security, I guess.
I couldn't believe it. And the worst part about it was when I got back here, my buddy Pax, who's like a technical guy, he lives on a boat just further down. He had hooked my GPS to the VHF AIS and had it running in 10 minutes. And I was like, oh, I spent essentially 3 weeks without an AIS trying to get back here. And I've never been so sleep deprived in my life. It was shockingly difficult. But when you're sailing over there, even if you have AIS, you're still not sleeping. Are you, for much? Maybe.
If I get tired enough, but yeah, I just go to sleep. But
yeah, well, that's what Matt says.
Sometimes I just don't care.
Matt Rutherford's like, you know what? There's just a point
big
where I'm
ocean.
like, whatever.
I'm a little boat with big ocean.
I'm gonna sleep.
I'm gonna go to sleep.
I don't care if I get hit. Doing it.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well,
I'll just bounce off. Maybe the wake will.
Yeah,
turn me
right.
around or something.
I always figured, and I would test this if I saw a ship that passed, a half a mile, like a real close one. I'd come down below and try and listen for it.
Oh yeah.
But I can never.
Sometimes
really
I can hear it from far away, and sometimes you just you don't hear it, and it's like, oh, it already passed me, and it's going. Like, especially those ferries, because they come and go really fast.
Right.
I gotta be the worst because they're so fast.
Yeah, they're like the catamaran ferries, right?
They go like
40
knots. Yeah, they're just come and go so fast.
Jeez.
But, I mean,
couldn't even.
They've got to be having good watch on.
Well, that's yeah. I mean, I know. I mean, they've got AIS, so that alarm's set, and they have to have a radar.
And I don't have AIS transmitter.
You don't have a transmitter?
I need to get that. Yeah.
Ooh.
I'm kind of turned off on them because from my experience in Svalbard, we got like a massive fine for going too close to a wildlife zone because the AIS like turned
indicator.
Turned
it told them where you were.
Oh. And I feel like there's other situations where I don't want to be seen.
Yeah, right.
I can't say that.
Go incognito mode.
Yeah. I guess I could turn it off, but
when I was a couple years ago, I was trying to go and do around the Americas, and when I was up near crossing over the Grand Banks, got past them, and there's these huge like oil refinery platforms,
Mm-hmm.
like gigantic, and it was foggy, and I was changing sails, and I come down and I can hear a conversation on the radio between a fishing boat and one of these oil rigs, and they're like, yeah, I don't know, it says he's a pleasure craft, but I don't understand that. And then I realized they were talking about me.
I'm talking about you.
Yeah, because they don't want anybody closer than like 5 miles or something
Yeah.
from any of those. So I had to like divert my course and explain to them what I was doing, and they're just like, good luck, buddy.
They don't get it. Yeah.
They're like, no, there's only fishing boats and tankers and oil rigs up there. But oh yeah, that's so crazy. Oh man. Well, I don't want to take all your time because I know you're on your way.
Yeah, I probably gotta get driving.
On your way and everything. But if with the YouTube stuff, like how has that sort of affected your life and your ability to sail and all that? I mean, is it?
It's massive. Like it funds all my
Total game changer.
Yeah, I get paid for all the stuff, and it's great because everywhere I go, I got people that like have seen the videos and want to meet up. And,
Yeah.
Like
people emailing you out of the blue saying, "Hey,
I
come do a podcast."
I got this free boat in Florida. I was gonna live on for a few months just because that it gives me a lot of different opportunities. I think, but I think sailing in general, you kind of get that kind of different.
There's a camaraderie.
You end up getting in a marina and someone has something or like
100%.
knows of something like so. I can't say I wouldn't have all that without the YouTube channel because like once you're doing something different, like you end up meeting interesting people.
Yeah.
You know, anyway, but the YouTube thing has been great, and it's not. I try to make my videos really easy on myself, so I don't have to make it into like a full time
job. Right.
I just film a little bit when I'm out sailing, and then post it when I get internet. So yeah, it's been great. I like it. I want to do maybe some. I did a how to sail because I think I would really advise against people trying to learn things from my channel because most of the stuff I do is like a failure, like at least half of the stuff, modifications and stuff I do in my boat. Like, I just experiment with stuff and like, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I don't always say if it didn't work later.
I have a Sam Holmes hole down there for water was coming out of a transducer a long time ago.
Yeah.
And the only thing I could think of, and this is long before I knew of you or anything, but I was like, I'm just going to drill a hole right there and it'll at least go into the bilge.
Yeah.
And I watched a video where
I think I've done that same thing.
Yeah, you were like, you know what?
Water's not getting through there, drill another hole.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's so funny, dude. Well, I mean, it's kind of refreshing because, you know, to see, like I said before, just a sailor and a camera, and you go out and you do these trips and then you share the experience and you've been able to sort of make a living out of it and continue to do what you want to do, which is just keep sailing and having more adventures. It's awesome.
That's lucky. Yeah, it works great.
Well, but
the thing is, there's
work.
People doing so much bigger, trips, and some of them have videos on there too, and they just don't take off like mine did. So
you're looking at one. No. Well, that's the thing. You
got some great footage of those waves and stuff, and like.
But I have like, I don't know how, I just put clips out because I didn't really understand YouTube when I got back from my big trip. So I just started throwing like 2-3 minute clips. I also almost didn't film much of anything. I had an old version 1 GoPro and I filmed some stuff, but not a ton. I just never even considered that anybody would ever want to see it.
I know.
The
Hawaii one got me 5 million views.
I know,
you gotta film that stuff.
I know. Well, I know that now.
That's worth $20,000 for
really?
A video, I guess.
Oh,
it's like a million views, about $5,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've only got like 3 or 4 that have gotten me over $1 million.
Yeah.
Because the Hawaii one is the biggest.
Right.
But like, it's real money, and like,
I know,
if a video takes
off.
Well,
and there's still, people are still watching them.
Yeah, so you could get residual stuff if like there's like it'll pop up again, and like I'll start getting a few bucks from some old videos, like, and you're getting a few cents from all the videos. So
Yeah.
Kind of if you have like a big enough library, it could.
Right. No, it was so funny because I called my brother Sven when you emailed me back, and I was like, Sven, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be able to interview Sam Holmes, and he's like, is that guy who keeps popping up on my YouTube feed?
I know, like
It's like I can't get rid of him.
If you ever search one sailing video, it probably bombards you with my stupid face.
It totally does. But it's good. You know, I mean, I get a lot of comments on my videos about, you know, having a positive attitude and all that sort of stuff. And I mean, you exemplify that. I mean, there was one really short clip I watched, or just I think you were coming out of the companionway and you either hit your head or you bumped your shin and you're like, ah, and then you're like, well, it's a lovely day out here. And I mean,
but that's the kind of thing, is like I do that so often that I'm
right?
used to just flipping gears and doing good and on with it.
Well, I mean, sailing, one of the big things for me that I love about, you know, going out and being out there and going through even what I had to go through on this last trip is that, like, and I've always said, you know, you can go out and sail on a perfect day and it's fun. It's awesome. If you have to go and sail through 2 weeks of just horrible conditions, then you get to that perfect day, like that's next level awesome. And that's something I sort of search for kind of all the time. And I think it sort of bleeds into the rest of my life, where it's sort of like, yeah, it's kind of crummy right now, but when it's not crummy, it's going to be that much better because it's not crummy anymore.
Yeah. It was always good to get so bored and so fast.
You'd never have
those
any
good
real
days
joy.
are like amazing once you have the contrast of, like, you know, earning it from.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Cool.
Hey, I did want to give you this. I got to sign it, but.
Oh, you got a book?
Yeah, add it to the library.
Yeah, I'll be reading that.
Yeah, dude. It's I tried to make a fast read sailing book and sort of change up so it's not just told from the very beginning to the very end. So I don't know.
Sweet,
hopefully you enjoy that. But
yeah, I like reading about sailing stuff when I'm out sailing.
I know,
you get in the mindset, you know. Yeah.
Well, and I can read things like The Perfect Storm as long as I'm not in that area. So like when I went around, I would read, you know, some of the terrible Gulf Stream stories and things like that when I was in the South Atlantic.
Okay, so you're in a different ocean.
Yeah. As soon as I get close to those places, I'm like, nah,
I made the mistake of reading that one about the guy that's in the life.
Adrift. Yeah. Stephen Callahan.
Because I love like the sailing stuff and that'll be great. But that was like a little bit. Right. And I was like kind of like a little bit nervous because at the beginning of the passage, kind of getting used to it.
Yeah.
And kind of get my butt kicked out. I was getting like so kind of like anxious and depressed.
It's a
going through
scary
that.
story when
like,
he describes
because you could like imagine like these.
That literally is like my nightmare to be in a life raft with just animals bumping it. I couldn't even fathom.
That's horrible.
Oh my gosh, it sounds like terrifying.
Do you have a life raft on this?
Yeah, I used to have a 6-man, like full on offshore, you know, for the big trips and stuff. But it's just so unwieldy. It's like 95 pounds or something. It's in a soft bag. So when it expired, I ended up going with 4-person. But I went with the 6-person because of that book. Because he talks about it. He's like, if you've ever been in a 4-man life raft, you know that you can't even lay down in that thing, even if it's just one person. So, I think the probability of having to go through that ordeal, like he did, is very slim these days.
Sure, today,
yeah. I mean, you know, barring an EPIRB and all that, I don't know. It's there's just so much traffic now. I feel like you'd get spotted and picked up. But last thing, if you were in that situation, distress, you need help, right? Flares, they're hit or miss. You know, ships might see it. You know, how many stories have you heard where people are firing flares off and ships just blow right by?
Yeah.
Here's an idea.
Okay.
Keep one of those super powerful laser pointers in your grab bag.
Oh, I wouldn't.
Because if you could,
you can get that in there.
Beam right it on that bridge. I mean, they'd be like a basketball player who somebody in the crowd's doing it to. So, whoever can sort out a way to make that happen, I give that idea to the world.
Yeah.
I think it will be a life-saving device for sure.
I was anchored in Hawaii. It was around sunset, and then I saw this green flash. I said, "Oh, that must have been the green flash." I wasn't like watching the sunset, and then it happened again and again. It was some little kids shining. My boat,
blowing you up. Beep, beep, beep. Well, Sam, thank you so much, man. Just for my listeners, Holy cow. Sam is exactly like he is in his videos. There's no facade here. He's a genuine, great sailor, great attitude, and I'm stoked. I can't believe you came. This is so awesome, man.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.